Hey guys, I'm here today with Alix Bizet to discuss diversity and inclusivity in the hair and beauty industry. Alix's studio, based in London, focuses on materials research and applications, and also social and educational programs with museums, universities, local schools. And she really investigates the relationships between our bodies and spaces, objects, systems, and media narratives. Thank you, Alix, for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. So you've recently authored what I think to be an incredibly insightful article for Green Salon Collective on the topic of diversity and inclusivity in hair and beauty. And I thought I'd jump right into my first question, which is sort of based on a common theme in your article, which is Afro hair. So is Afro hair part of a standard hairdressing curriculum?
Well, since 2021, it is now obligatory to study curly hair. So not especially Afro hair, but curly hair. But until then, it wasn't. And there's still a lot of hairdressers who haven't been trained to style or treat or simply like cut curly hair.
Right. And so you talk a bit about training and sort of the lack of training in Afro hair and other hair types. But also there's the product world as well. So would you say that there's an issue with product labeling using descriptions like normal hair? Because I can picture like the shampoo bottle and it says, you know, it's trying to market certain hair types on being normal. But what exactly is normal according to these brands or society?
Well, exactly. But I think when we think about like the Western world and actually product made for hair, often like Afro hair and curly hair are not included into this landscape of hair. They also often think about like what the dominant model is, which is a straight, shiny, long hair, and any other type of hair or as in any other texture of hair is not included into this marketing campaign.
Okay. Yeah.
So basically, they actually, by saying that, which is a really weird thing to say, like normal hair, and then you would have, for example, dry hair, then you might have curly, and often they will say like Afro texture hair. So it means that actually they are categorizing the hair, and what we think normal is basically Caucasian straight hair.
Right. And so that kind of teeters into what another theme in your article around discrimination. And so in your article, you wrote about how millions of people in the UK suffer from discrimination when it comes to their hair. And you said, and I'm going to read this quote because it's really good. They struggle to fit in against the dominant model of the straight, long, shiny hairstyle that society and media try to convince us every day is the desirable look. Have you experienced this firsthand?
Yeah, I think this project, my whole project, when it comes to my project Hair Matters, was based on that. The experience that many people have, I'm saying, especially in the Black community, of being outcast just because of their hair. I had experienced personally to go to a hairdresser when I was little, and the first thing the hairdresser would say that my hair is difficult, and yet he cannot cut it because he doesn't know how to do it. And I remember my dad kind of saying, well, it's just a trim, because for my dad, any hairdresser should be able to cut any hair. And this hairdresser was like, I cannot cut her hair because I don't know how to do it. And because my dad insisted, try to do it, and literally destroyed my hair, like using the wrong product, cutting my hair dry, meaning that my hair was not in the same level. And I remember the frustration I had, even though I was 5 years old, of looking myself in the mirror and being told that my hair was so difficult, and yet in my head, difficult meant ugly. And then, you know, that's a stigma that many people feel when they have Afro textured hair.
Yeah. Right. And I learned from you that there's a movement to ensure that discrimination against Afro hair is recognized as a form of racism. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so there was like an experiment, like a student in London who had dreadlocks, and actually was because of his belief and his cultural heritage, and actually was asked to not have dreadlocks at school because it was not the standard of the school. Meaning that like school had one standard, and the standard would be for the dominant model of hair in the school, which was like the straight hair, and not anything that we know would make him particular. Yet it is his cultural heritage, and it's also his belief. So he had to be removed from school because his parents refused him to go to the school, and actually like started a campaign to actually recognize discrimination or simply racism, systemic racism in education against any student of color or who having like this kind of hairstyle. And I can recall as well students where I worked in the school who told me the experience, you know, like being told that their hair was unkept. And yet, you know, like, what does it mean to be unkept? It means that your hairstyle doesn't fit like the standard of the school. And if you look at the standard again, it would be like straight hair, shiny hair, short hair for like guys, long hair for girls. So I think in the UK, with like the help of hairdresser and collective like Allo Collective, who's actually made a full like a study about, you know, this discrimination. Finally, there was a bill passed to not discriminate people based on the hair type, and saying that there was also people experiencing that at work. And there is a case also of a woman in the UK who was told that her hair was not the standard of the company, despite the fact that, you know, like she was like saying that she was trying to fit in, yet it was not good enough for this company.
So we've seen it take steps in legislature and business, but how can we as ordinary citizens sort of change the way Black or Afro hair is perceived and understood, do you think?
I think it's quite interesting that you ask this question, because the fact is that when you look at society, and I refer again to Netherlands where I did my studies, people were often saying to me that, you know, oh, they had a cousin who had curly hair, so yet she must have been from another heritage. So I think we should actually start to think about hair as multiple textures, and not only as, you know, like one heritage, one hairstyle, one gender, one hairstyle. I think it's like, it's not something which is particular to the Black community. I think it's also to any communities when it comes to how we see society, right, and how we see the standard of citizen we want. I think there is a standard, and that's what we need to challenge. So I think, of course, understanding Afro hair means understanding the different culture, and that's something that we should all do, like trying to understand each other's different heritage, respect each other's culture. We also started to challenge those you know, label that we've been grown since we're really young as like normal hair, or like, you know, beautiful hair. What is meant to be beauty? That puts so many people outside this box just because they don't look like what society wants us to look like. So that's something we can challenge every day.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because obviously I think a lot of people would agree that hair is really it's intertwined with our identities, and we talk a lot about tackling racism and discrimination, but the very fact that hair forms our identity is definitely something that shouldn't be overlooked, I think. So you've talked about everyday people, but what about hairdressing businesses and maybe even academies? Like what lessons can they learn from our discussion today? How can we empower hairdressers of today and tomorrow to end this cycle of discrimination?
Well, I think as a business of hairdressing, I see it as like, hair is actually very strange because it's a really frivolous subject. And, you know, we can say, well, it's quite superficial to talk about hair. But as you said, hair is really intertwined with identity. When we think that hairdressers are a place where we go to shape our identity, and also a place where basically we let our hair let down, and, you know, we trust this person should, you know, put this German aside and just be professional in terms of understanding all hair type, but also like reflecting society of today. If you're a hairdresser on a high street, you should be able to cut every hair and actually give place for everyone, whether they, you know, sexual orientation, gender, hair type. And that comes to this kind of idea of challenging systemic racism in every businesses. So I think it is urgent, and I think now many hairdressers are realizing that actually that, you know, this business is also part of the systemic racism that we can see, and actually challenging their own curriculum and how they can accommodate everyone and not only one type of client.
Right, and I think that I've had a couple of conversations around this topic, and I do believe there's a place for specialized salons, but there's definitely I think a very strong narrative in being able to say that, you know, you could walk into any salon and be catered for, irrespective of what your background is and what your hair type is. And also something I was really interested to learn in your, and I guess I never thought of before in your article, was that actually nurturing a more inclusive and diverse industry is actually an opportunity, or it can be. Can you explain this?
Yeah, because it's a $1 million business or £1 million business, Afro hair. Black women spend more money than ever on the hair. So the fact is that by just saying that they can't cut their hair or cannot treat the hair or cannot style the hair, they pass beside a multi-billion opportunity of, actually having diversity and in the salon is opening them to also other business. And I'm referring especially for rural part of England, where there is actually also people with curly hair, Afro type hair, and who have to travel all the way to London to get the hair done. So you can imagine that, a salon in the middle of UK, like in the countryside, is passing by a lot of opportunity to actually, like accommodate everyone, just because they don't want to challenge their curriculum or they don't want to do more training of learning a new hairstyle or hair type.
Yeah, it does seem like a real lost opportunity. So beyond being a business opportunity, would you say that fighting hair discrimination through education and hiring a more diverse workspace is a responsibility of hair salons?
Yeah, I think it's a responsibility of everyone, but it's also a responsibility of salons. And I think, they should kind of reflect the street that we live in. I think you can't really say that, you are up to date if you can't, reflect what is happening in the street and what's happening in the media at the moment. I think it's important that, the thing that happened in America that will reflect about the systemic racism and what does it mean as a business owner? How do you actually engage yourself to this kind of put your position straight? And I think taking more people of color in salons, but also offering training for curly or Afro hair textures is essential.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I think we have time for. We've kept it really short and sweet. We've got through a lot of material, but I could certainly sit here and chat with you for hours on this topic. I really appreciate your insights, and I hope that people watching this video will as well. So what I would say is make sure to read Alix Bizet's article on the Green Salon Collective blog. And if you're interested, learn more about her studio work at alixbizet.com. Thanks again, Alix. Nice speaking with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.